The entire conference room fell into a suffocating silence as the 12th interpreter lowered her headset, her face pale with defeat. 12 highly paid professionals, each with polished resumes and international certifications, had tried and failed. On the massive screen behind them, 8 foreign delegates watched impatiently, their words flowing rapidly in different languages that seemed to collide like waves in a storm. Millions of dollars were hanging in the balance. The company's biggest international deal was slipping away in real time, and at the back of the room, holding a mop and a bucket, stood a poor cleaning single dad no one had noticed until that moment. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the hidden greatness inside ordinary people, take a second right now to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that miracles don't always wear suits. Sometimes they carry mops. Daniel Reyes had learned early in life that pride did not feed a child. After his wife passed away unexpectedly from a sudden illness, the world he knew collapsed overnight. Medical bills swallowed their savings. The small apartment they once filled with laughter grew painfully quiet. Every morning before the sun even thought about rising, Daniel would wake up to prepare breakfast for his 6-year-old daughter, Sophia. He would braid her hair carefully, though he had learned by watching online tutorials late at night, and walk her to school with a tired but steady smile. Then he would head to the towering glass building downtown where he worked as a night cleaner. To most employees, Daniel was invisible. He moved silently through the hallways, emptying trash bins, polishing marble floors, and wiping fingerprints off doors that executives pushed open without ever looking down. His uniform was plain, slightly faded, and always spotless. He carried himself with humility, but inside him lived something no one in that building suspected, a mind sharpened by years of study, sacrifice, and an unbreakable determination to survive. Long before tragedy struck, Daniel had been a language enthusiast. Growing up in a poor neighborhood filled with immigrants from around the world, he was surrounded by different cultures and dialects. He learned Spanish from his grandmother, English from school, French from an elderly neighbor who once taught literature, Mandarin from a grocery store owner who let him help stock shelves, Arabic from evenings spent listening to international radio, Portuguese from construction co-workers, German from borrowed library tapes, and Japanese from a college exchange student who had once needed a friend. Language was his escape, his bridge to worlds far beyond the cracked sidewalks of his childhood. He had even earned a scholarship to study linguistics in college, but life intervened. When Sophia was born and his wife's health began to decline, Daniel dropped out to work full-time. Dreams were postponed, responsibilities were not. On the day everything changed, Daniel was assigned to clean the executive floor earlier than usual because of a high-profile international meeting. He had seen important gatherings before, but nothing like this. Black cars lined the street outside. Security guards stood at every corner. The company's CEO, Margaret Whitmore, known for her icy composure and relentless ambition, was hosting delegates from 8 different countries to finalize a groundbreaking global partnership. But something had gone terribly wrong. The company's primary interpreter fell ill at the last minute. Backup interpreters were called in urgently. One by one, they attempted to handle the complex technical discussions. But the problem wasn't just translation. It was nuance. The delegates weren't simply speaking different languages. They were expressing cultural subtleties, legal intricacies, and industry-specific terminology that required deep understanding. Misinterpretations began piling up. Frustration mounted. Voices grew sharper. A Brazilian delegate slammed his folder shut. A German investor shook his head in visible irritation. A Japanese executive removed his glasses slowly, signaling quiet disapproval. Margaret Whitmore felt her empire trembling. Daniel was wiping the glass wall outside the conference room when he heard it, a phrase in Mandarin that had been mistranslated. The interpreter rendered it as a rejection of terms, but Daniel knew it meant something entirely different, a request for clarification framed politely to preserve mutual respect. He paused, his heart pounding. He tried to ignore it. It wasn't his place. He was a cleaner, not a consultant. But then he heard the Arabic delegate respond, his words tense, his tone misunderstood. Daniel's chest tightened. Years of listening, studying, and loving languages told him this was spiraling toward disaster. Inside, Margaret's voice grew strained. She called for another interpreter. That made 12. When the 12th failed to restore order, a heavy silence settled. It was the silence of collapsing opportunity. Daniel surprised even himself when he gently knocked on the open conference door. Every head turned. The sight of a janitor standing at the threshold of a multi-million-dollar negotiation felt almost absurd. His hands trembled slightly as he explained, respectfully and quietly, that he believed there had been misunderstandings. Security shifted uneasily, ready to escort him out. Margaret stared at him, disbelief flickering in her eyes. Desperation can make even the proud reconsider. She allowed him 60 seconds. Daniel stepped forward, not with arrogance but with calm humility. He began in Mandarin, clarifying the original phrase with precision and cultural sensitivity. The delegate's expression changed instantly, from irritation to surprise. Then Daniel shifted seamlessly into Arabic, explaining the intended meaning and smoothing over tension. He transitioned into Portuguese to address a financial concern, then into German to refine a contractual nuance. French flowed naturally as he acknowledged regulatory conditions. He navigated Japanese honorifics with respect, ensuring no one felt slighted. Spanish and English anchored the entire conversation. The room transformed. What had been chaos became clarity. What had been hostility softened into cooperation. Delegates leaned forward instead of away. Headsets were set aside. For the first time that day, genuine understanding filled the space. Margaret watched in stunned silence. The man who cleaned her office floors every night was orchestrating linguistic harmony with the confidence of a seasoned diplomat. There was no hesitation in his voice, no need for notes. His translations carried empathy, intelligence, and balance. Hours later, the deal was not only salvaged, it was strengthened. The delegates expressed gratitude for the remarkable multilingual mediator. Some even insisted on exchanging business cards with Daniel, who shyly admitted he did not own any. When the room finally emptied, exhaustion hit him like a wave. He expected to be thanked politely and sent back to his mop. Instead, Margaret asked him to sit. For the first time, she truly saw him, not as a background figure but as a human being with extraordinary depth. She asked about his education, his life, how he had acquired such mastery. Daniel spoke honestly, without embellishment. He explained how he had left college, how he worked nights and sometimes days, how he studied languages after Sophia fell asleep, because learning reminded him that the world was bigger than his grief. Margaret felt something unfamiliar stirring inside her: humility. The following week, Daniel received an offer that would change his life. The company created a new position, International Communications Specialist. It came with a salary he had never imagined, health benefits and flexible hours, so he could continue caring for Sophia. When he told his daughter, she didn't fully understand contracts or corporate titles. She only saw the tears in her father's eyes and knew something beautiful had happened. She hugged him tightly and said she always knew he was the smartest person in the world. Daniel's first day in his new office felt surreal. The same hallways he once cleaned now echoed with greetings directed at him. Some employees felt embarrassed for never noticing him before. Others felt inspired. He treated everyone with the same respect he always had, from security guards to executives. But perhaps the most powerful moment came months later, during another international summit. This time, Daniel entered the conference room through the front door, wearing a simple but well-fitted suit. The delegates recognized him immediately. There were smiles, nods of respect. He didn't stand at the back anymore. And yet, he never forgot where he started. He continued volunteering on weekends at community centers, teaching free language classes to immigrants and underprivileged children. He told them that knowledge was something no one could take away, no matter how small your paycheck or how invisible you felt. Margaret Whitmore often reflected on that disastrous meeting that almost cost her everything. She realized the greatest failure had not been linguistic, it had been perceptual. They had overlooked brilliance because it wore the uniform of poverty. Daniel's journey became a quiet legend within the company. Not because he sought fame, but because his story reminded everyone that talent does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it waits patiently behind closed doors, holding a mop, hoping for a chance. Now, before we reach the end of this story, if Daniel's journey moved you even a little, take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe for more stories that restore faith in humanity. And here's something special. Comment the word invisible if you've ever felt unseen but refused to give up. Years later, when Sophia graduated from high school with honors in international studies, Daniel sat in the audience remembering that terrifying day outside the conference room. He realized that the greatest victory wasn't the promotion or the salary. It was proving to his daughter that dignity in hard work and belief in oneself can rewrite destiny. The world often measures worth by titles, clothing, and bank accounts. But real greatness hides in perseverance, in late nights studying after exhausting shifts, in showing up every day for your child even when your heart is broken. 12 interpreters failed that day. Not because they lacked education, but because understanding requires more than vocabulary. It demands empathy, patience, and lived experience. The poor cleaning single dad possessed all three. And in the end, it wasn't just a business deal that was saved. It was a reminder, to a room full of powerful people and to all of us watching, that the next miracle might be standing quietly in the corner, waiting for someone brave enough to listen. If this story touched your heart, don't scroll away without letting us know. Your engagement keeps stories of hope alive. Because somewhere out there, another invisible hero is mopping floors tonight, carrying 8 languages in his heart, waiting for his moment to speak.